If you still clicked on the video and you still haven't noticed, this is a spoiler alert for episode 7 of WandaVision. This is going to be my video of episode 7 of WandaVision. If I've missed anything throughout this video, please drop it down in the comments below. And this is going to be my personal opinion of what I think happened in the episode and what I think is going to be happening in the episodes coming up. So I'm going to break this video down into from the start of the episode to the end of the episode. So at the very start of the episode, on the credits, we basically only see Scarlet Witch's name on the credits. So I think this is basically trying to represent what's going to be happening throughout this episode, where Scarlet Witch and Vision are separated throughout this whole episode. So at the start of the episode, Tommy and Billy went up to Scarlet Witch's room, and Billy was talking about his head hurting. This is kind of important. It's because I think he's trying to develop his powers, but he doesn't have the right mentor. Even though Scarlet Witch is there, she isn't really helping him develop his powers. So with the wrong influence with maybe Agnes, he could go on the wrong path as well as she did with Ultron. So this could be very controversial. When director Tyler Howard said there's going to be a launch today, what I think is going to happen is that there's going to be like a Mexican standoff they're going to try and build up in the two episodes, in the last two episodes, is where Agnes is going to be on one side of it, he's going to be on another, and Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Monica Rambeau is going to be on another side. And they all have different views on what they think is right, and what I think all of them are going to try and fight each other. As director, he's trying to get into the Hex, and Agnes and Scarlet Witch, they're clashing at the moment. So Darcy and Vision. This is kind of interesting, is because Darcy was informing Vision of all of his past, which means that he's basically Vision we've all known and loved throughout the whole movies he's been in so far. So now he's basically Vision, and he's in the Hex now. And Darcy, they left Darcy as a wild card is because he didn't take her powers back, and she knows what everything was happening in the Hex. So this is going to be, she's going to be a wild card, I think they're going to use in maybe the last two episodes. So when Scarlet Witch was losing her mind and she was going crazy, what I think they done well was when they actually broke the fourth wall, it persuaded us even more that she was going even more crazy. It's because she's talking to us, right? And when Agnes was saving the day, she just let it go. It's because Agnes, all the way from the start of the series, has basically got into her head that, or I've been the person that you've programmed or like mind control to be your best friend throughout the whole series of WandaVision the people watch in the series, if you know what I mean. Through Jimmy Woo's email, we now know that director Tyler Hayward, he's basically an enemy, kind of. Like, because he's trying to revive Vision, even though Vision's like last will was not to revive him in the first place. And now we now know that he basically tried to swing Monica Rambeau's view on WandaVision, on Scarlet Witch, is because he was basically saying, oh, look what she done. She just broke into the base and she just took Vision's body, without saying that we're trying to awaken Vision, even though they all know that Vision didn't want that in the first place. So it's basically saying, director Tyler Howard, he's basically the enemy, even though he works for SWORD. So when Agatha Harkness was talking to Billy and Tommy, Billy accidentally activates his powers, what I think a lot of people miss. He accidentally activates his powers by saying, you're quiet inside, basically showing that she's evil inside, and she has like no purity and like no remorse or anything inside of her. So he's basically trying to show us what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes of the episode. To the bit where Monica Rambeau is about to just run into the Hex, like not giving a fuck what's about to happen to her. So what I think was really interesting about this scene is, if you look again closely on the clip, is that you can hear Nick Fury talking to her, you can hear her mum, and through the vision she's seeing, you can see when she's a child, you can see her mum coming out of her at the same time, and you can see her, like some of her different versions in the WandaVision television series of the series, if you know what I mean, okay? So like, that is, and like the CGI and everything, that was really good, and it's just kind of sick how she's got her powers now, and I kind of like how they put her design to blue instead of like all white, how she was in the comics, because I think it just suits her better. And yeah, so I think that's probably one of the best scenes of the episode, like individually, because, and also we have to say, we have to think is before before when Vision came out of the hex, it was much shorter, like a much shorter hex. So by uh, uh by Scarlet Witch's powers bugging out, it's either created the hex stronger, as in more layers through each hex, so it's even harder for normal or like structural abilities to actually get through. So I think you at this point you can only get through it if you have a superpower at this point. We get to the fight scene of when Monica Rambeau confronts Wanda of what she's doing around her. And what I think is really good about this scene is that we see that Monica Rambeau is able to stop Wanda from making her fly away, first of all, and she has a protective armor or magical armor around her. I don't know a lot about her comic abilities, but I know she's on the same power level in the comics as Captain Marvel. So in terms of power levels, they're probably average if they're going off the comic books. But remember, a lot of stuff do get nerfed, i.e. the Dark Order, because they got nerfed a lot. Agatha Harkness through this scene is very smart. Is because she knows if she let that conversation go through, that conversation would have worked out a lot better for Monica Rambeau, and she would have Wanda would have understood Monica Rambeau on a different level. It's because Wanda actually likes Monica Rambeau deep down, and you can see that Hayward, he's already Hayward and Agatha Harkness, they're already trying to manipulate Wanda, or trying to just put it in her head that she's the enemy, she's the enemy, she's the enemy, even though she knows she's not. So that is why there's two manipulative people trying to like push against her and just basically shoving in her head that she's the enemy of this series. And that's why I think Monica Rambeau is in this series, to try and combat that. So we get into the basement scene. So this scene it's just kind of ironic. It's because Agatha Harkness in the comics, she's a very old woman, and so like what I'm thinking, like because I remember that, what I'm thinking is like old woman is telling you to get in the basement. So obviously we know what's gonna happen. And what's gonna be interesting is like all of the channels will go into like deep down breakdowns. They're gonna all comment on like the different signs or on the walls. There's like the different bones. They probably have all comic references, I'm guessing. So we're gonna get that information very soon. But what I think is really interesting about this scene is her powers are really good, as when she when she mind controlled Wanda, she didn't even have to do any hand signals, so it was all through her eyes. So I think she's had a buff to maybe near to the levels of Nightmare level. Is because what I think they're trying to do is make her as powerful as Nightmare. That's what I think they're going to try and do in this series, because we see characters get buffs and nerfs all the time throughout this whole series. So we get to the music, and this song is probably one of the best songs to come out in 2021. It's official. So now we know that she's in control of everything. She was basically in control of all of the main moving parts of the series so far. And now we know that Pietro, he isn't real, but there's only a few explanations you can do of Pietro. You can obviously go through the multiverse theory, but I don't actually think they're going to do that. But I don't know the explanation what they're going to do, but I just think they're not going to do the multiverse at the moment. So there's what I think she done, her motive of changing Pietro's face was so that her whole time she was trying to confuse Wanda of why basically trying to confuse Wanda of why she didn't want any comfort for Wanda. So she just wanted to confuse her even more. That is why she changed his face. But I don't know how she changed it, but I think that's the explanation why she changed it. Is because she didn't want Wanda to feel comfort throughout that whole series. And through the post-credit scene, finally we have a post-credit scene. We know that she can control him even without being in proximity of him. So that's kind of a bad thing, because his powers is kind of really strong. In the comics, he isn't as strong as like a lot of characters, but his powers are really strong. So it's going to be a bad thing for Wanda, and I'm going to end this video on the best song of 2021. Can't not agree with that.
It's too late to fix anything now that everything has gone wrong. Thanks to Agatha, Ronnie Agatha.
And I killed Sparky, too.
Out of pocket for that shit. Way out of pocket. What do you gain from that?